Kahalo Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakahak Radash. Double honors to the elder apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well for teaching His word in truth and sincerity. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered abroad. And peace and salutations to the sincere Akim that's pushing His word in truth and sincerity to USA Shalom. Deuteronomy 30:7. And the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, thy power, will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. And we're watching the reversal of these curses. We're watching all the things that fell upon us fall upon our enemies, mainly Esau, Edom. We're watching these Edomites squirm. All the things that they pretty much persecuted us for, mocked us for, kept us away from, and things of that nature, is all falling upon him. We're watching the fall. We're watching the demise of Esau, Edom. Edomites can't pay their bills. You're watching them crash out on these different media outlets, like YouTube and these other social media outlets. We're watching them crash out because they're starting to feel that squeeze. They're starting to feel that burn, and they starting to see that that their own government don't care nothing about them. That they were all lied to. We all were lied to. These low-level Edomites, they was built up. They was given a sense of pride, and that pride is about to bite you in your ass. So all those benefits, EBT, SNAP, and all them benefits you used to get, they're starting to come down on you. Because of the rising prices and gas and food, low paying wages. Now you're starting to feel that burn, but we were already in that position, The true biblical Israelites, which you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, we was already in that squeeze. So we had to make do with what we had. We had to make the best of a bad situation. But you were given the protection of your complexion. So now you starting to feel that burn at the gas pump. Damn near $5 a gallon, and some places is more than that. Like on the West Coast, is upwards around $8-9 a gallon. You can't pay for your mortgage. You can't pay for that life insurance. You can't pay for a decent meal. You gotta choose between eating or paying rent. Hey man, welcome to the club. Yeah, you was lied to because you believed in a lie. You believed that you were superior, knowing that you're not. You drunk the Kool-Aid. So now you feeling that burn. This is 1 Timothy 1:9. Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly, and for sinners, for the unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers, for manslayers. You cannot, these people are ungodly, man. They wallow in and promote the most, lewd things, the most heinous things, you know, and it's all coming down from your small hats, man, you know, because they're the most profane, most lewd, lawless people on the planet. You know, when you look at who owns all these different media outlets, whether it's Hollywood, music, you know, Broadway, whether it's these different social media outlets, who owns all these different porn sites, you know, it's these small hats, man, you know, and their disease, their infection, you know, which is they have a mental defect, man. Most High made them that way, man. Because, you know what I'm saying, this fool gave up his birthright. So, you know, you got to have some type of mental defect. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a person, as a human being, as a nation of people, you're defected, you know. So, now you're starting to see the results of that defect, man. And if you allow it, man, it will infect everyone, you know. Everyone that they can, they will infect, you know. If you're not into the scriptures, you know, if you haven't studied, you know, you're liable to fall to these things. And if you've been in the world, you know, you're still subjectable, you know, just to, you know, to partake in these things. It's kind of wild, man, because these people are like you know what I'm saying, they're really like a disease, man. They're like a plague. They are like a parasite, man. These people are parasitic, and they're pretty much they'll infect just about anybody, you know what I'm saying. But you have to have you know, you have to have these scriptures, you have to be rooted in these scriptures, man, to kind of like, you know, to pretty much, you know, fight them things off, man. Because like, this world is not made for us, man. This world, like, this particular period in time is under Edomite rule. And you see how these people govern. You see how they live their lives and how they project their lives on others. So they need to be, you know, pretty much in captivity. But, you know, all these different kingdoms had their period of time to rule. This is just the Edomites' time to rule, you know. The Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai is a man of balance. So you're going to have, he gives people opportunities, man. He gave this particular nation an opportunity to rule. And it's all in to teach his elect on how to govern, so that when the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, that righteous kingdom establish itself on the earth, you know, we'll have a sense on how to judge these things and how to judge these matters. So, you know, the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai is perfect, man. In all his ways, works and wonders, man. He's righteous. So we just have to go through this punishment, you know, through the no fault of our own. You know, it was all our fault, you know what I mean? Pretty much, you know. So we have to go through these things. We have to go through this period of time as a punishment. But it's also a learning lesson, man. You know, a learning lesson on not to be disobedient, you know. And what happens when you are disobedient? You fall into, you know what I'm saying? He allowed us to fall into the hands of the wicked, man. But as you see, prophecies are moving. They're continuously moving forward. And The Lord is slated to come back, man, and he's going to tear this place up. He's going to set everything back in order. And he's going to give us that biblical law to live by. And all these heathen nations will have to live by that law. But right now we're watching, we're witnessing, watching, experiencing that devil, man, that wicked nation. We're witnessing and experiencing their rule. We're subjected to their rule. And a lot of our people, even when even when most of us was in the world, we fell to some of these things, man. Being worldly, dealing with these other nations. But look where it got us, But all praise to the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, for having mercy, because he's put the spirit on certain men, starting with the apostles on down, to push this word and keep feeding the sheep, and gathering the Lord's elect, bringing them back into the fold. So now, what we're experiencing is the end of we watching the end of these Edomites. We're watching the end of their nation. We're watching their kingdom crumble. That goes right back into Deuteronomy 30:7. We're watching these curses being reversed onto these Edomites. Their women despise them. If they not outright, showing it, they secretly, craving, they secretly craving Jacob. They always have, but you got some Edomites that they try to hold fast, trying to hold on to what was, but what they're witnessing is their men have destroyed this, have and are destroying this planet, through this internet, which, you could broadcast and record through your cell phone, and you can report anything that's happening that you see happening, and instantly. So a lot of people are seeing how this man rules, how this man lies, how this man cheats, steals, rob, murder, and then try to make a false narrative on, look at these guys, look at what they're doing. No, look at what you're doing. So everybody sees who you are. You cannot hide no more. You cannot hide who you are. And everyone sees how deviant you are, how sexually perverse you are. This is 2nd Ezra 4:23. For it was not my mind to be curious of the high things, but of such as pass by us daily, namely, wherefore Israel is given up as a reproach to the heathen, and for what cause the people whom thou hast loved is given over unto ungodly nations, and why the law of our forefathers is brought to naught, and the written covenants come to non-effect. And that's the effect of being around these heathens, But like I said, the Lord is he gave us over into the hands of the wicked, man. When you go into Job 9:24, it tells you that the earth was given into the hands of the wicked. So everyone who's not an Edomite is subjected to this man's his rule. We're subjected to his folly. We are subjected to his perversion. We are subjected to his violence. We are subjected to his to his lies. And from an Israelite perspective, being being we are the children of the Most High Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, the biblical Israelites, not those imposters in the land, which are Edomites. We were subjected to this man's rule because of our disobedience, because of our unwillingness to follow the law. Our unwillingness to uphold that covenant that our forefathers made with the Most High Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. So, we're living out our punishment, man. And a lot of our people, 2/3 of our people, just don't see that. So they continue to wallow around in Esau's folly. They continue to wallow around in their own folly, fulfilling their own lust, instead of contemplating, meditating, reading, studying. The whole thing is to meditate daily, pray daily to the Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai to come and rectify the situation, come and get us up out of here. As we did in Egypt is how we're supposed to be doing now. We're supposed to be praying to the Most High to destroy this place. But a lot of our people are comfortable here. They want to build here. They still love this place. They can't detach themselves from this place. Yeah, man, granted, man, there's some things that you just like to do. Cool. But the main thing is to, pull yourself out of this wicked way of living. You can't keep, we just can't keep going back into the same, falling for the same bullshit, going into these same ways of being. This is a Edomite's way of being. This is not our way of living. So it's like the scriptures say, man, come out of her, and that's talking about Babylon, man, in the spiritual sense, But our people love, to follow wickedness, man. And that's who Esau Edom is, man. He is the wicked. He is the devil that the Bible speak of. Devil being adversary. Salakia, devil being the deceiver. He has the spirit of Satan on him. These Edomites are the children of Satan. They are our adversaries. They are our enemies. These heathen nations, these Moabites, these Ammonites, Elamites, Ishmaelites, Hamites, they are our enemies. But we stay, coddling up under these people, man. And that's going to be the downfall of 2/3 of our people, man. Well, we got to leave these heathen nations alone. This is Sirach, the book of Ecclesiasticus 41 and verse 6. The inheritance of sinners' children shall perish, and their prosperity shall have a perpetual reproach. Verse 7, the children will complain of an ungodly father, because they shall be reproached for his sake. Verse 8, woe be unto you, ungodly men, which have forsaken the law of the Most High power. For if ye increase, it shall be to your own destruction. So, we as children of the Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, the true biblical Israelites, which are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, we have to pull ourselves out of this world. We have to detach ourselves from all this wickedness that goes on here. And granted, it's hard, it can be hard sometimes, but it's all about prayer, asking the Most High to keep keep that spirit on you to stay away from these things. It's all about studying, understanding the scriptures, reading the scriptures, and then doing the work. Then it's just about, pretty much just detaching yourself from Esau, Edom, man, and his folly, man. And like I said, man, these people are like they're like parasites. Give it a sec. They look up the word parasite, because these people are infectious, man. And it's mainly through, years of abuse, being around these people. You got a lot of our people that want to be like an Edomite, and at the same time you have Edomites that want to be like Jake. This kingdom is bugged out, and every day I pray that Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai comes and just wipe this place clean, man. Just destroy this place. A parasite is an organism that live on or inside another living organism, the host, and obtains nutrients at the expense of the host. So these people, and this is coming from your small hat on down to your redneck Edomite. They're all parasitic. Because of the same, because in one breath they say, yo, man, they hate us, but in the next breath you see them copying us, kind of like what Dave Chappelle said, man. Everybody want to be a nigga, but don't nobody want to be a nigga. So everybody want to, all these different nations want to emulate, the Lord's people. In this essence, in this sense rather, but they don't want to take on that burden, Everybody want to copy us and be like us, but nobody want to be that, take on that burden of being mocked like us, being abused like us. So, they want the best things that we can produce, but they don't want to be us in a sense, and in this captivity that we're in. But Psalms 83 tells you how these people were going to try to do us, man, or how they were going to do us. They conspired against us, man, to take us out, to take us out of our rightful place. That goes into the book of Judith and the Apocrypha, fifth chapter, and it talks about how these nations could pull us away from our power, which is Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. And if they could pull us away from our power, if they can get us to stop abiding in the Most High's laws, statute, and commandments, if we can if they can make us upset the Most High and He not be with us, not be on our side, they're able to to infiltrate us. They're able to take us down. They're able to take us out. So it's all about us coming back to that remembrance and giving all praise to the Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and thanking Him for having mercy, man, because He could have literally just took us all out, man. But the Lord is a man of integrity, man. He can't change, He's immutable. So he doesn't change, man. He doesn't lie. So we always gonna be the apple of His eye. But we have to do our part, and we have to keep praying. Fast when you can, man. Take more time to do it. And it's all about studying, man. 2 Timothy 2:15, studying to show thyself approved. And keep praying for the destruction of this place. So when you look at metaphorically, the definition of a parasite, man, is a lazy person who habitually lives at the expense of others without making a proper return offer, often described as sponger. But either way, it tells you, man, these people don't have it in them, man. They don't have that salt, man. They don't have that, they bland, man. They don't have no seasoning. So, they pretty much gonna copy everything that we do. Not give us credit for the achievements, But that's part of the curses that was put on us from Deuteronomy 28, man. So at the end of the day, man, we just have to do our part. And our part is coming back to the Most High in all truth and sincerity. Esau Edom did us, he played his part. He did his role. He played his part, He created a lie, and he's living by that lie, and he's hoping that we don't wake up. But the Lord is going to wake his elect up, through his prophets, through the apostles of Great Millstone, through the men of Great Millstone, from the prophets on, from the apostles on down, and the elect are awakening. So once the Lord seals his elect, man, this place is finished. You're gonna start to see these prophecies, start to move much faster, man. Kohalo Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakahak Radash, Abad Babal.